Go.
Okay, it just went out. So this time I know it's real.
Yep, the charming lady with the voice.
Yes. And it's recording right now.
That's right. Whoa. Well, hello, friends, and thank you for joining me, Dr. Bill Spady. I'm here again with my dear friend and colleague and mentor and spiritual guide, Tomei Schnitzius. And we're here to go even deeper into some of his work, part of which he has shared before in a previous session. But his spiritual friends in the higher dimensions have encouraged him to take it a level deeper today. So, Tomei, I hope you're braced for the experience. Uh,
I'm always braced for the experience.
Correct. And so are we. Very, very glad to be hearing what you have to share today.
Yeah, and what they might have come through. Um, so what some of the things simply they've shared with me just recently while we're doing another podcast um, is to look at intentionality in our journey. It's kind of why do the work? Um, what is the possibilities of the work? I've gone into some of that a little bit by some podcasts we've had before, but I'm just going to go ahead and let them share with us what it is they really wish to put forward. So, so as we begin, there's a difference between intentionality of the mind and intentionality of the heart. Intentionality of the mind is driven by definition of what you've been trained to believe through your programming early in the early stages of your growth. But it doesn't have feeling, it doesn't have the ability to emote from the heart. It's strictly a definition of how to intend. And that intention, intentionality can be different for each person because of the experiences they had as growing up as children and the programming that took place. For instance, if a child grows up in an abusive home, they learn the fear of being abused and they also learn the understanding of being less than in a very dramatic way because they're just being abused all the time. So they might begin to see life in that context, in that experience. So they might create a subconscious intention of fleeing and being afraid of anyone that they feel is going to harm them. That would be a defined intention. Another defined intention that could happen also, though, is they might welcome that experience into their life and flee from somebody who would treat them very kindly because they're not used to that. So I'm just giving you two opposite extremes that might happen by somebody that has been abused in their life as children. And in between both of those are many other choices that they might choose to define their intention of how they would be with life in any perspective. The opposite of that intentionality is intentionality of the heart. We might say that the intentionality of the heart is very much based upon experience. We call this more of a pure intent because the pure intent does not have judgment or fear that surrounds it. It simply is an opportunity to experience what is going on in the moment. So the intent would be to maybe stay, the pure intent would be to stay as open as possible to accept and welcome in whatever the experience that happens along their journey. This could happen in a moment to moment type situation. So being more present becomes a very key opportunity to be in the moment, the opportunity to not judge the moment, to not be in fear of the moment, also brings a purity or a experiential piece of feeling and emotion that can be experienced in whatever that might be, that situation. So that is more of a pure intentionality. To switch over to one of the questions that I posed in the beginning, why do the work? Well, in some of the podcasts that Tomei has given so far, you can find various aspects of what is called the work. We call it the way. It's been called the way for a long time, many thousands of years. And the way basically is a journey within. Most of you out there that are listening might not have really journeyed within just yet, or might have dabbled in journeying within. But once we journey within and we come to a place that is, say, more in the heart than less in the heart, the experiential part of the journey begins. And to get to that place, you might even say it's 50.1% being in the heart and 49.9% of the mind. You're still more in the heart than you are in the mind. The journey, the way, the work is about releasing all the traps and triggers and barriers and control and fear and judgment that has been created by you when you were growing up and started to be programmed. Now, that's not a judgment upon you. It's just simply a fact that when you were a child up to 7 years old, you had no way of of looking at or understanding what was going on around you at the time. You could only feel it. You only saw the experience. And so you would put emotions to those experiences. And most of those emotions, usually, and not all the time, but usually are some kind of a fear, some kind of a judgment, some way of looking at life in one particular way because of how you saw possibly your parents, one parent or the other. If you were raised by your grandmother or grandfather, you could even been raised by an outside source that was more intimate with you. It could have been a brother, a sister, a cousin, could be any number of people. But based upon how those people raised you and gave you an idea of what life can be, you formulated for yourself a way of looking at life. And by the time you were 7, you programmed yourself into always looking for life that way. So, in that perspective, you would be choosing certain emotions that you would think were good, certain emotions that you thought were bad, certain fears and judgments about yourself and about others. All this goes into creating a program subconsciously that you began to follow throughout your whole life. The work is going into all that stuff and unraveling it to the point of understanding that that was only one way of seeing life. And there is infinite ways of being with life. That might seem overbearing, but quite frankly, there are infinite ways to be in any given situation at any particular time. You're the one that chooses how you're going to be in that situation. Would you rather be consistent about it by doing it always the same way? Or would you rather be open to it, to be able to truly be present with what's going on, to see the multiple choices you have, to be in that existence in that present moment? Most would say, of course, I would rather have the openness and to see how I could be in that moment with the different choices. Unfortunately, that doesn't usually come about. And you always make the same choice at the same time to be with whatever's in front of you. The way, the work, is to go in there and start allowing yourself to make the other choices, to recognize the energetic values of the blockages that you created, which means the emotions that were attached to life the way you saw it, the mind driven definitions of what you think is true, and to look at all of that and to allow yourself to release any emotional attachments that come along the way that have kept you stuck in only following one way of life. So, why do the work? To do the work, to be in the way, to journey within allows freedom and opportunity to see things in so many different multiplicity ways. And that provides you the opportunity to continue to grow within, to grow into your heart, to recognize that there's so many different ways to possibly love, to be connected, to see things outside of you in a different way, which means you will present yourself to those things and be with those things as opposed to letting those situations and those things control you. It is a way of looking at life of instead of life controlling who you are, you control how you wish to be in life, which allows you the freedom, the free will actually to come forward to experience one thing many different ways. And from that, to be able to grow within your heart the emotions that complement you in any particular way. Now, there's a deeper sense of this and how this works as well. And when you look at the intentions that there are through mind or the pure intentions there are through the heart, you can see possibly by what we shared with you so far that there's a limitation based upon the intent of the mind because of the program and the belief structure that has been done. So once you allow those things to be released, all of a sudden the limitation falls away and a pure intent can start to be developed. And it takes time for this to happen. This is not a quick fix by any means. It's not a somewhat of a 12-step program or anything like that. Because buried within the subconscious can be many, many dramatic type situations and memories that you thought you have, that you've created for yourself. And we'll even go into another aspect of where those memories actually lie and what happens with the triggers of those memories. And there's some of the work that has to be done as well. So, from intent of the mind to pure intention of the heart, it can affect all levels of who you are. And what we mean by that is that it affects your mental capacity, it affects your physical capacity, and it affects your emotional capacity that you have been living with for such a long time. As those things begin to be released that have been programmed into all those three bodies, you might say kind of a spiritual body is born, an illumination, a new understanding of the truth that you hold within, but that takes some time. As those three bodies become more involved in the releasing of a lot of, especially the emotional triggers and the emotional attachments, those three bodies form a unity. There is a extension, you might say, that happens from all those three bodies becoming more unified into one body. And there is an instantaneous opportunity of growth that begins to happen. It's almost as if the mental body is talking to the physical body, that's talking to the emotional body, and back and forth as well. And in those situations, they're all reminding each other that we wish to move ahead in a unified manner to be able to make the best choices that we possibly can to serve us in those moments. It becomes instantaneous. It's not something you have to per se think about or get ready for. In those kind of cases, you're right back into the mind and the mind trying to control what it is that you wish to do, which is an attachment to an outcome if that takes place. In pure intent and with the unified three bodies, there is no attachment to any outcome. There is no need to have an outcome. The only thing you're hoping for and wanting to feel and sense and be with is what's happening in the moment with no judgment, with no fear, to just experience what is there. So that is more the pure intent. If we look at pure intent, you might say the intent actually is just to be in the heart as much as possible. And we would say that,
That sounds right to me.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so that is the way, that is the journey, that is the work, is to get to that place. It's not a goal per se, because you already have it. It's not something that you are trying to find outside of yourself or from, again, some 12-step program. Your heart is already structured and connected to all things. Some of you might have heard of the Anakarana cord. If not, this is a silver cord that connects you to all things universally, if you want to use that word, or source, or God, or other beings, or however you wish to be. There isn't anything that you can say is the perfect word. It's more of a feeling and experience of what it is for you. That cord allows you to be present all the time once you open up your heart even more. The heart is conditioned at birth to have that spark of divinity within it at the moment of conception. The science has not proven. They have seen a light flash the moment there's conception. They have actually done that with screens. And you can see in a light around kind of almost a circular cell that takes place. And it seems that that happens always at conception. And so they won't explain what that is. They don't have a word for it because it's science. And they're trying to understand what that might be by measuring it, but they're scared to say, well, that's when spirit comes in, or that's the divine, or whatever. They don't want to take the chance to say it's religious, because that's what people think when they use those words. We're not even saying it's religion. It's religious. It is a fact of condition that takes place when conception takes place. What's interesting also, when conception takes place, the cells begin to form, and the first organ that forms out of the cells is the heart. It's the heart, and it's the heart that drives everything, not the mind. The brain is not created first, it is the heart that's created first. So you might say, wow, that's interesting, because the heart then becomes the actually director on the growth of everything else that takes place for the baby in those moments. We are saying to you now that nothing has changed. It's still the same. Only because of your programming, society, religions, government, schools, friendships, uh, certain churches, excuse me, parents, relatives, so on, have gotten into the place where you have watched them, heard them, believed what they said, and then formed your own opinion, you might say, or your own way of thinking as to how the world works. And so that didn't happen at conception. You were pure in that moment. That happened after you were born. As soon as you came out of the birth canal, the energies began to take place. The hearing and the experience of being in that kind of energy began to control the way you would see the world eventually once you were 7 years old. And so all of that together then kind of defeats you along the way, until you come to a, let's just say, an aha moment of some kind, recognizing, like, these things don't serve me anymore. There must be more out there. When that question is asked authentically, and what we mean by authentically, when it's asked from the heart, because the rest certainly has not worked out, then there's an opening of the heart in that moment. And choices can be made to start following the way and the internal journey. Once that takes place, and the universe knows it does, because it can feel from a higher level what it is you're walking through as a soul. There is the beginning stages of certain things and certain people to come into your life that you never knew were out there before. Certain, as they call synchronicities, that might be happening to help drive you a little bit, to help push you a little bit into the direction of finding the truth of who you really are. At a certain point along the way, with the pure intention that you keep moving ahead with the heart, you will find for yourself the opportunities to, as we say, grow in such a way that the energies will start coming in a lot stronger, with a lot more meaning with you internally, breaking apart the emotions that you have attached to certain triggers that have been happening in your life. With pure intent, which sometimes can be a little bit more subliminal in the beginning, what ends up happening is you start facing some of the things that you went through in your life. And you might say, well, I got triggered by something outside of me and my emotions went crazy. The memory of that event was placed into the outside consciousness, which is called matrix in some ways. But that consciousness is holding the memories. As those memories get placed into certain situations, let's just call it, you see them at the right exact moment for it to trigger you into the emotional attachment that you placed upon that memory. And that memory then becomes a catalyst for you to release the emotional attachment that's to it. The memory doesn't die, it's always out there in consciousness. But what we want you to do as best you can is to release the emotional attachment that you have to it, which then frees your heart to be with something in the same capacity of the memory without being triggered, which means you can truly be it with multiple different choices and experiences than you did with the one choice that you kept looking at and were controlled by from the emotional attachment that you had on it. Now, that's a lot that we just gave you. That's a lot of work. And a lot of times you need some guidance to walk through some of these things. It doesn't make sense to you. A lot of psychiatrists and psychologists do not know of this work. It is very specific. It comes from thousands and thousands of years ago. A lot of the mystery schools of the past have taught these things to individuals on a one-to-one basis. As it went forward, it was passed on into different indigenous cultures, which you can actually look up. It's in various different books. This kind of work is very intimate to each soul. And why we say that is that each soul is very unique. Each soul experiences traumas and situations in their early childhood completely different than another soul. Even if there was abuse in one family and abuse in another family, each soul that was in one of those two families experienced it differently than the other soul. The only uniqueness to this is what's called the way. The only uniqueness is how to release these things so you can be free. That's the only commonality. How you do it, in what capacity you do it, how it feels to you when you're releasing, when you know you're finished as you're releasing, and various other aspects of it we can give to you is totally intimate to each individual soul. What somebody that is a guide, a spiritual guide that can assist you, or a master of some kind, can do is hold your hand in it to keep you and allow you to stay deepened within it. So they can feel the energies because they've done the work. So they know at what capacity you're at specifically with the energetic feeling of the attachment, if it's still more present than not. If it is truly an opportunity in the moment, that guide will hold your hand in it, allowing you to walk through it in your own way. So there's no agenda as to how you have to do it. And they will also know at what point you are in that place so that they can either help you go deeper if you choose, or no, there's still more work to be done in whatever emotional attachment is still available. And sometimes it takes days, months, years to walk through some of these things that could be very, very deep and very, very attached. All this work, what it does is go back to the original part of what we just discussed. Which intent is it? Is it a mind-driven intent or is it a heart-driven intent? Is it an intent that is there to judge and be in fear, or is it an intent that is there to experience? Now, another part of this that we wish to get into tonight is the healing aspect of things. Now, when you and any one of you, any souls that are listening to this or who do in the future, when you started out, again, in the programming aspect of your journey, in the up to the 7-year-old age limit, what you did is you created a neurological pattern within your brain. So now we're getting into a little bit more of the scientific aspects of things. And what they find is that the neurological patterns became stuck in one way of thinking about something over and over and over again. And a common neurological pattern is called neuroplasticity took place. And in that neuroplasticity, there was always the same choice that was always being made under the same circumstances that you were experiencing. This wasn't a choice that the neurons were making. This was very much in the subconscious, which does not judge anything. It just sees and reacts to the way you wish to be in those situations. And so a neurological pattern is created. When that happens, that neurological pattern then filters also into the physical body, not just the mental body, because every time that pattern happens, there's a physical reaction in your physical body of it going on. So when you're triggered, you might say every time you walk into somebody that is talking too loud, your neck might hurt, your lower back might hurt, you might get goosebumps all over, your breath might start racing, you might have shorter breaths, you might get headaches, you might want to walk away, you might want to run away. There are all kinds of different physical attributes that take place based upon what has happened in that, say, trauma or the trigger that's being created. So then we follow through with the neurological pattern that comes into the emotional body. The emotional body would always normally, in a neural pattern that is in the mind based upon the programming and the belief structure, would judge the situation always the same way. Always the same way. So there would either be fear, apprehension, there might be rage, anger, depression, any number of qualities that are of low frequency emotionally that would take place, and they would always be consistent and always be the same. The beauty of these three bodies, and once you become a little bit more aware of how this is working, is that they're showing you a picture of what you're holding on to so you can release it. They're not necessarily showing you a picture of what you're going to be the rest of your life, although that can be a possibility if you don't do the work and go internally. But if you are able to start the work and you are able to start going inside, the body, in many ways, in all three bodies, is giving you a picture of what it is you have in front of you and what it is you might have to start being with so you can start releasing some of these things. We would say usually there is a core emotional attachment that seems throughout all the different triggers that you have that have been created since you began in the programming so long ago. That core emotional attachment can take some time. The house of cards doesn't fall right away, as you call it. It takes time to start knocking some of the cards off on the top that will lead to the next set and the next set and the next set. And as you go down, as you notice in building a house of cards, The base is very big, the top is very small. So as you go down in the core value of the emotional attachment, it is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. You might say it's going to fight you to release it to the point where it is going to have to pull out everything it possibly can to stop you from releasing what it is that's been controlling you all this time. So there's a lot of work ahead, and why we say it's always a good idea to have an authentic teacher, master, or somebody who's done the work to be with you as you walk through this, because it gets stronger and stronger as it goes. So each level, emotional, physical, and mental, has a certain energetic value to it from each position of where it is. So we have to talk to you a little bit about energy as well. And it's the best word we can use for you, even though most scientists would say there isn't really electrons and energy per se anymore. It's the best word they can use. It's mostly waves of feeling and sensation and so on. And Hertz levels are more waves than they are electrons and atoms and all that sort of thing. But that's a discussion for another time. What we say to you is we're going to name it as energy at this point. And energy has different Hertz levels. And so as you continue to work with your way, the way, and the journey within, you will begin to notice the feelings of the energies that are being released. And they're being released from the cellular structure in your body. As you have attached yourself emotionally to these things from the past in the programming, you've attached an energetic value through emotion to the cellular structure, your metabolism in your body in certain particular ways, even to maybe a specific organ that you've used to hold all the rage that you keep coming in, or a specific organ that controls all the fear in your life. You have done that subconsciously. You didn't do that consciously and said, I'm going to go do that to myself. You didn't wake up in the morning and decide that you were going to destroy your body in whatever way it is. It just became natural. You didn't know you were doing it. It was very subconscious. But what we're saying to you is you do the work, you start recognizing that there seems to be energetic values, feelings, and sensations that happen as you're doing the work and starting to release these things. What you're doing, really, what you're doing is uncovering the divinity that you're holding in your cells. You're uncovering the divinity that's in your organs. And specifically, you're uncovering the connection in your heart that you are connected to all things in consciousness. The more you do this work, the more uncovering begins, to where eventually you get to that 50.1%. Yet it takes a lot of work. Now, one of the rewards, if you want to look at it as a reward, is that you hold incredible gifts within your heart that you're not even aware of because they've been covered up for such a long time. So again, we're going to come back to something we said earlier. You're not looking outside yourself for anything. You're uncovering what you already have. You're uncovering the divinity that you have. All we're doing in this podcast, in all a certain, let's call it a spiritual psychotherapist, which you would understand one of the words, psychotherapist, but spiritual psychotherapist, or some kind of master or authentic being is doing, is to help you to remember your truth, who you are. You are divine essence. You are the all. You are unified. You are connected to everything. There is nothing that you are not connected to. It's just been covered up. And who covered it up? You covered it up. You didn't do it consciously. This is not a judgment. You did it subconsciously over and over again by what happened to you in your experiences over and over again. So, doing a lot of the work we've just shared with you is the beginning stages of uncovering what is already there. What that means is that gifts, synchronicities, those aha moments are going to start happening more and more and more. They've always been there. You just couldn't see them because you weren't in the connection with your heart. You saw everything through your mind, which limited you to what you were seeing. As you uncover these things, the gifts become available. It could be the opportunity to channel and feel energies coming through you as a conduit. It could be that you could see things that others can't see. You could feel things that others can't feel. You can hear things that other people can't hear. You start going out of your mind. Interesting phrase, isn't it? They say that's insanity. Well, we're going to tell you it's sanity because you're coming back to your heart. Insanity is living in a matrix. It's living in a predefined illusionary world that you're living in because you're only seeing it through your mind. And who controls your mind? Well, subconsciously you do, but the outside world loves to be able to control your mind and tell you the way things are supposed to be. And you're so happy to agree with it because you're too scared to do it any other way because you won't be accepted. Well, now you know beginning stages of you don't care if you're accepted anymore because it didn't work out so well for you. So you're willing to put yourself on the line and begin to open yourself up even more. And lo and behold, there are gifts and opportunities beyond anything you could have ever explored that are waiting for you to be with. One of those things is healing. There are those of you out there that have already tested this out. There are all those of you out there that have healed yourself in many capacities. And we're not just talking about physical healing, but we're talking about healing the mind, we're talking about healing the emotions, and also the physical healing that's available. When you are able to feel, truly authentically feel, which means you have finally released the core emotional attachment that you've placed upon your heart, placed upon whatever the situations were, you're now open to new emotions that are pure and of the moment. And as that starts happening, the cells become alive. They get giddy, even. They get excited that for the first time they are free and they can be their benevolent selves and they can start moving around your body and start healing those parts of the body where you've been placing so much stress into a particular organ or your metabolism or your breath or your mind, all kinds of different areas. And they're finally recognizing like, you're not choosing stress anymore. Hallelujah. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Let's start healing different parts of the body. And you start all of a sudden recognizing you're not limping as much as you used to. You're not having short breath anymore. Things don't hurt like they used to. What's going on here? Am I imagining this? I'm not taking anything, no supplements or drugs or anything are helping me. Yeah, you might say there is a drug that's helping you, and the drug is the energy that's coming through the source that you've been connected to all along. And it finally can get through because you've dropped your barrier that was stopping the energy to come through and being wasted and just leaving you because it couldn't attach itself to you and assist you and loving you in a way you've never even imagined in your wildest dreams. The last thing we wish to show you in this, talk to you about, you're all going through a major shift. And this isn't anything new. It's been talked about for years now. The timing in the Earth time frame has been talked about for a long time. And they're saying that by the year 2030 or 32, the shift of the planet will be over. What that means is the energies that are coming through from the galactic core through the sunspots, the sun rays, the things that have been hitting the earth, the auroras and so on, have been in extreme pace lately in the last 2 years of your time frame, have been coming through stronger and faster than ever because the time is getting short and the earth must change. The earth is alive, just like you are. Internally, it's been doing the work, it's been shifting and changing. There is no doubt that you see this. There's no doubt that there's more storms. There is no doubt that there's more drought. There's no doubt there's more fires. There's no doubt there's more hurricanes and tornadoes and winds that are much stronger than ever before, that the ice caps are melting. Everything is changing, but you think it's because of you. You think it's the people that are causing this to happen, and it's not. The earth is changing internally. The science has already said the core of the earth has stopped moving in some respect and is moving a different way now. The poles have shifted ever so slightly. There is less cloud cover and more sun coming through that is helping the process to take place. But it is hitting you at the same time. The photons that are coming into the earth are strong and multiple and faster and more intense than ever before. It's hitting the old souls first. It's reawakening them to the fact that they still are holding on to some things that need to be let go of before the shift takes place. Many of you old souls that are listening to this know this. You are dreaming more intensely than ever before. You are getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep, maybe less. You're waking tired most of the time. What is happening is that, number one, you're releasing anything that's left that needs to be released. And number two, your whole body, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, illumined, all your bodies are now being put to the test and changed and trying to be coordinated and unified so you can finally move ahead in the new energies that are starting to come in. This takes time. Some would say, well, it takes a little bit of pain too. Well, there's no doubt it takes a little bit of pain because you were more third dimensional in the aspects of who you are, and it's being shifted into a higher frequency. And we won't tell you what dimension that might be because every soul is going through it differently. There isn't this understanding that everybody's going to rise up into the fourth or fifth dimension or something like that. There's no truth to that. The truth is, and this is vital, and Tomei's going to get really emotional about this. What is really vital here has nothing to do with everything we just said in some respect, because the end purpose for you souls with free will to walk forward into this is you have to prove to yourself that you love yourself unconditionally. There is nothing else that has to be done but to love yourself in a way that is beyond any measure. To look in the mirror each day and smile and say, wow, I love being with you. You are my greatest asset. I'm in such gratitude for what you have done in your life. Can you do this with meaning, with authentic meaning? Have you gotten there yet? Because if you haven't, it's going to be really hard for you to move ahead. It doesn't matter what you've done for others. It doesn't matter how much money you've made. It doesn't even matter how much people you've harmed. Obviously, if you have harmed others, then we would say that's an extension of how you feel about yourself. And so there's a lot of compassion that has to be looked there because you don't love yourself in such a deep way that you're willing to go out and harm others in the way that you feel really, truly about yourself. And if you look around, you can see that happening in an immense way in your culture right now. Very intense. Beyond anything you thought could even happen. What's being shown to you is that you can't leave anything behind. You must look in the mirror that's outside of you and know that there's a part of you in that. And you must forgive yourself and feel that through the emotions to forgive yourself, to release it in whatever capacity you have carried that in this journey that's happened for thousands of years for many of you. So, the end result, if you want to see it that way, do you truly love yourself? It's not a phrase, it's not a word, it's a feeling, a deep set feeling. If you've ever had the opportunity to truly be present with an ascended master or a master of any kind walking this planet, and you can feel the energy bubble that is around them because now they've given it to you and has surrounded you with it too. You will get just a small taste of what it is to love yourself. We leave this with you because that's the ultimate. Everything that we have shared with you today about intentionality of the mind, the heart, how to get there, the work that has to take place. All of it will lead you to this place of loving yourself. Are you willing to go there? We're not saying you have to give up your life to do it. We're saying you must give up your attachment to the life that you think you should be and be the life of love. And you can still have all that you have without attachment, which allows a freedom to be with things beyond what they really see that you see in front of you. Money is not money anymore. It's abundance from the all. You can share it with others because you know more of it will come to you in whatever form it might be when you love yourself. It doesn't matter what job you have, but you can have the job you have and show up at your job in a different way as you present yourself, loving yourself to the job. It changes the whole environment of where you're at. That could be enough. That could serve you more than you could ever imagine. You don't have to give up anything except for the emotional attachments that you have created through your mind, and to be free with the heart, to allow it to direct you into the space of love and energy of love that is beyond any comprehension you might even imagine. So, with that, we sign off.
And with that, I thank you profoundly.
Yeah, so that was really amazing.